All right, so today we're going to go over a very simple, very common situation, which is underwriting or credentialing. So we work with a lot of clients in the financial space and in the staffing space and many other industries that require some type of verification. One of the biggest issues is taking something like a bank statement or a physical document and converting that into something that's meaningful. A lot of people have tried ChatGPT or other kind of models to just upload the images or the PDF and try to get um, the results. But one of the issues is that it's giving you a text response or a JSON response, or it's not system friendly because it's not structured in a way that can be used by other systems. So let's say we're working with like HubSpot. HubSpot needs very structured data to take in. If you want to integrate via APIs or if you're talking to another system, it needs very structured data. So, let's say we're doing finance and we get 3 months worth of bank statements and we want to analyze, we want to check it for fraud, we want to check the transactions, we want to see recurring transactions, we want to classify transactions, and we want to predict the future. So we won't get into all that, but the idea is that to be able to perform such calculations, whatever the calculation engine is or the underwriting engine you're going to use, you need it in a structured format so it can be processed correctly. So I'm going to show a way that we use pretty heavily for preparing data, unstructured data to structured data, which is a very common scenario and is very powerful in these models. So today I'm going to demo what's in ChatGPT. So this is a feature which I think is not so known about, which is the response output. So here we talk about response schema. And what a schema is a JSON schema. It allows you to define how information is structured. So we can see that the 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 structured output of a JSON schema has all certain data types. Um, the elements need to be will have properties, and the properties will have values. So it's a very simple structure, but the schema allows you to define how the information is going to work, how it's going to outcome. So really, it just means if you put something into ChatGPT, it's going to force the format to match the way you need it. And it also improves the output of the format because within the schema, you'll notice that every property has a description, and this really assists the ChatGPT or other models to force the data to comply with how you want it and how you want it broken up. This is very similar to tooling, but it's different because it's an output format. Um, we use that output format, as I said, for processing documents, images, processing, information that needs to go from unstructured to structured data. For example, if we need to look up data, process information. When we have chats or partial information, we can use a JSON schema to JSON and then keep updating that JSON to meet a certain structure, which then can be passed on through a pipeline. So here I'm going to create an example. First of all, we have a bank statement. It's very strange. There's a Facebook group called Bank Statements that has sample bank statements. This is not a real bank statement. And I'll be using the sandbox here, the sandbox GPT. So first thing I do is I swap the output to use a schema. And you can see here, I've already created the bank statement schema. But the good thing is we don't need to necessarily type out the schema ourselves. We can automatically generate it. So what I did here was create create me a bank statement schema, spell check. Statement schema needs to have the overview, totals, line items with date, description, and amounts. Also need to have the ability to give a fraud score to the overall bank statement and a fraud description if applicable. So, doesn't matter. Some spelling mistakes there, but you understand. So having this, and we're going to click generate. So the good thing is this is already compliant. There's different type of schema formats. So this is the one that's already compliant with ChatGPT. So first we can see that it's broken down the top level items, which is really nice. The end date, the start date of the period, account numbers, and all those details. Um, it's got all the totals, which is what we want. Net balance, total expenses, total income. So that's very nice. Line items, very well structured. We have the date of the transaction. You can actually get this to format. So for example, there's a format tag here. We can say format as ISO format, which is the year, month, day, time elements or whatever that we want. So we can actually enhance this, the string and the amount. And we could have asked it to add in the credit, I guess, if it's negative or positive, but this will have negative or positive numbers. Fraud score, so it's going to do an attempt. Obviously, we didn't put a lot of effort here. And in the actual system commands and statement, we can define what fraud is better and what that means, but we could also edit it here. And a fraud description, and then these is what's required. Additional properties just means it's not going to make anything up, and true means it's going to stick to this format. So that looks like a really good uh, format for a sample. So let's go back to our statement. Um, it looks like it's from Pakistan. And let's go back to our thing. So the nice thing is if we did this through API, then it would be automated. Um, if we do it through this interface, which is just the playground, we can compare the information. So let's go ahead and put that image in. And what we're going to do is we set the JSON schema. I turn down the temperature, so the default temperature is 1, and I bring it down to 0.5. This makes sure that it doesn't invent data. You could probably go lower, but I generally use 0.5 for when we need things that are strict and not creative. So for content and information, then creativity is probably a good thing. But when we're analyzing information, we need it to be more exact. So firstly, I found 0.5 to be a good one, and that's worked well. So I'm using ChatGPT 4.0. I could have been using one of the other models, but I found this is quite a good model. Please review this bank statement and generate the JSON, um, detect any fraud on this statement. Spin, spin, spin. And here we go. So this is not giving me other text. It's not giving me opinions. It's that you'll get through the ChatGPT window. It's only giving me the pure JSON in compliant with the JSON structures. So it's gone and got me all the totals. It's got me all the bank statements. All the line items are here. As I said, it's using negatives for credits and debits. And we've got a nice, it's given a fraud 0, no fraud activity based on the transactions. So we could have said, is there any fraud based on the image? we could have gone into that kind of angle, but we didn't specify, so it did what it needed to do accordingly. Um, so the good thing is, dealing with these bank statements myself, we would have done um, totaled all the numbers, make sure the numbers are totaled up. We would have checked the image, and compared it with other bank statements. So this could be enhanced. So for example, it has a space here. It looks like it could be fraud. Do these actually line up? There's it. I think it does. But you could compare with other bank statements. So, working in that industry, we could take the bank statements and then do the image comparisons to kind of enhance it as well. Um, so this is a nice way to do it. Now we've got the JSON. That's also in memory. So let's just play with this a little bit, and we can now get it to analyze that JSON as well. Um, looking Looking at the bank statement, how much money did they spend on fast food? Go ahead and run that. So this is already it's already in the assistant, so it knows that JSON. That's interesting. So I saw they've done KFC, so it knows that KFC is fast food. The amount is 8,210. So you can imagine that this has many use cases from the direct analysis of PDFs and images. You can hook that up to email. So something that we do is as emails come in, pick up the file attachments, process it, analyze it, and then move it on. And you can chain it obviously as well. So what I mean by chaining is you read in the data, this output can then be used as the input for the next model. So if you were to do like a bank analysis on the last three bank statements, you could pull in these files, build out a collection of these or a single one. Like you could advance the schema so it just come out as a single one. Once it's done, then you can pass it down to do the analysis of the projections and do what I just did here. For example, like if you wanted to see how much they're spending on food or other categories to analyze the system, and you could have additional outputs. So you'll get one schema for the bank statement, one schema for categories, and you'd have one schema for the prediction of revenue and other kind of items within that pipeline. So that was just a quick demo, but I wanted to show a very practical use of underwriting and process automation within like the in many industries, but as I said, the ones we focus on is in the financial and in the staffing industries for processing certificates and licenses and other information. And this is just something that's very, I think, underused within the power of ChatGPT.